the place for the independent creator, vlogger, podcaster, filmmaker, musician, writer, speaker to learn the tools and tricks that other creators have used to build their own successful platforms. This is LimeLight DIY with your host, Ryan McKay. You don't need unlimited resources, just a little knowledge, some creativity, and, oh yeah, a whole lot of grit. Now here's your host, Ryan McKay.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is LimeLight DIY. I am your podcast host for the evening. My name is Ryan. It is delicious, as always, to see you guys tonight. This is the podcast for all of you independent creators out there who are looking for a little step up as you try to build your own platform. It's the podcasters out there. It's the vloggers. It's the independent filmmakers, comedians. It's a little bit like our guest tonight, who tends to be a little bit of everything himself. Kind of excited about this one. On a personal level, I've been watching this guy for the last 4 or 5 years. A buddy of mine sent me a video about 5 years ago and said, you got to check this thing out. And I flip over, and there's this guy in a really tight orange and white shirt, really tight jogger shorts. And I'm a child of the 70s, so flashbacks start kicking in. And he's holding up a bag of Skittles and referring to them as Skittles. And it was the most amazing pitch I've ever seen from the worst pitchman you could possibly imagine. And I had no idea at the time, because I went back, I had to watch everything the guy did at that point. I had no idea that a few years later, I would actually meet this gentleman, although under a different name. And we're kind of going to go into that a little bit tonight. But first, I want to remind you, the website, www.limelightdiy.com. Jump over there. We got all the show notes for tonight's episode, for every other episode. There's a little box there. I'm sure you've seen the boxes before. You put your email address in there, and special stuff ends up in your email box. In this case, twice a month. And you're going to get the twice a month digest from me. It's going to have the show notes in it, but it's going to have some exclusive content that may not have made it to iTunes or Stitcher or YouTube. And it's going to have things like bloopers. It's going to have additional tips, tricks, and hacks. It's going to have all the fun that you could ever want in your inbox and more. Tonight, we're going to be talking to that YouTuber that I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. I say YouTuber, but that's really just kind of scratching the surface. Ladies and gentlemen, can I introduce you to Nathan Barnatt? Nathan, thanks for being here.
Oh, hello. Thank you for having me.
I absolutely love the fact that you're doing this interview in front of a Pac-Man machine. A 3/4 scale Pac-Man machine.
That's right. The only one I have left. It's nice to wake up in the morning and go, oh yeah, I have joy in my life. I almost didn't for a little while.
And that kind of goes back a little bit to how I met you. I met you at Free Play Florida in Orlando this past year.
Yep.
You were there, but I mean, you weren't there.
I made a brief appearance during the chill screen segment. I was there, but most of the time, I went back to California. But Keith Appicary was there like the whole weekend. Keith is a wild man, so he's usually the one that shows up and hangs out all nonstop at video game conventions. So yeah, Keith and I were there, but I was only there for a little bit.
Now, Keith Appicary is the king of classic gaming.
He's the classic gaming whiz,
actually.
Yeah, yes, he is.
He looks a lot like you. He sounds a lot like you, but I mean, there's some obvious differences. I mean, you've got the beard and everything, and he doesn't. So
yeah. Well, right now I have this beard, and then I have hair right now. It's you would think as a bald man, you would think I'd be enjoying this luxurious growth on my head, but I'm not. I used to have hair just like this in high school, but it was blonde. It looked a lot like Kurt Cobain, and a little bit it's giving me like flashbacks and kind of like these weird nostalgic feelings of like feeling it touch me in the face was like a thing I forgot that feeling of hair touching your face. And I used to have that all the time in high school. But now, at first, I was like, oh, this is cool. And now I really, really want it off my head. It's driving me nuts. And I get to take it off this weekend. So I'm so happy. I'm very looking forward to it.
And we're going to touch on why that hair is here to begin with. But let me kind of give everyone a little bit of a background. Nathan is a comedian. He's an actor. He is a YouTuber. He's a filmmaker, a director, a writer. I'm finding out today he produces audio, a little bit of everything. And Keith Appicary, for those of you that aren't familiar, is a what would you call it? A creation of Nathan Barnatt. How would you call that?
A life form of his own. I don't even know. Keith is like the ultimate warrior in your uncle's body. Is kind of how I would say it. He's got the mind of the ultimate warrior and the energy of the ultimate warrior and the body of your uncle. Usually when Keith says it, he says he has the mind of a 14-year-old boy and the body of your uncle. Yeah, Keith, I guess if I was to describe myself, I usually just say I'm a physical comedian. I do characters. I tell people who don't understand what that means, I say Jim Carrey and Sacha Baron Cohen put together. That's like what I do. I like characters. I like physical comedy. I mostly just like acting, and I like becoming someone else. That's why I have this goatee and this hair glued to my head right now. But yeah, Keith is he's a mental patient, and he's an avid video game player. He loves arcade games. He likes classic games. His favorite companies and systems are Sega Genesis and Sega, anything Sega, Dreamcast. Hopefully the Dreamcast 2, if it all works out in Keith's favor. Keith is also the self-proclaimed spokesperson for self-proclaimed CEO of Sega. I was sort of talking about Trale Lewous there for a second.
We're switching tracks.
Trale is the self-proclaimed spokesperson who actually became the spokesperson for Skittles, ironically, in real life. So that was cool. But Keith is the CEO of Sega, and now Sega actually has allowed him to say that. And Keith went to the Sega offices once. Keith wasn't in, but I was in a Sega commercial this past year, and before that, they had Keith come into the office, and they had like a whole desk set up for him, like a nameplate on the desk that said CEO of Sega, Keith Appicary. So it's funny how these insane characters I make end up like forcing their ways into these big companies' worlds, and they like accept them. It's a really bad move on these companies' parts, but they go for it. So it's pretty cool.
I gotta say, this is going to be both the easiest podcast I've had to do and probably the hardest podcast. It's the
because I don't shut up.
No. That's usually my routine.
I ramble and ramble, so cut me off at any time.
No, it's cool. It's the cool thing is I don't have to drag stories out of you, and I don't have to come up with interesting questions. You're just going to take it. But I also feel like I'm interviewing like 16 different people right now.
Yeah, it's good. I feel like I'm answering at 16 different people sometimes. It's easy for me to talk about myself, I've learned. I don't know if it's because I've done a lot of interviews. I think it's mostly because I have like ADD, and one thing leads to another. Then I start thinking, oh, that I should tell this story. It helps explain that part of the story. But then I just talk too much, and I forget what the point was that I was trying to make. And then it sort of kind of my mouth defeats itself. So
I'm all about the ADD. I don't have the H.
Yeah.
I wish I had the H. I might lose a little bit more weight, but I've just got the ADD, the boring ADD.
Oh, well.
So Keith Appicary is a creation that, and I want to go back to Keith in just a second, because there's some kind of cool things that you've pulled off with Keith. But you've got several characters who have sort of taken on a life for themselves and have been sort of embraced by the general public. Keith Appicary, who we mentioned a minute ago with the classic gaming whiz. We have Trale Lewous, who I mentioned at the very beginning, and who you sort of referred to a minute ago.
Yeah.
Trale Lewous is the self-proclaimed spokesperson of Skittles. And when I say self-proclaimed, it's not that unofficial anymore, is it?
No. So originally Trale made some commercials for Butterfingers, and Butterfingers didn't really grab onto it very well. It was also the early days of YouTube. This was like 2006, like 6 months after YouTube started, or opened its doors, I should say, or whatever. So Butterfingers was like, oh yeah, send us the videos, and we'll put them on our Yahoo video page. And I was like, all right, I was hoping for like something better than that. So the guy just wasn't really receptive. And then I thought about it, I was like, well, Skittles does really weird advertising, and so does Starburst. But Skittles I see more commercials for. I'm gonna hit up Skittles and just sort of make some stuff that I think maybe they'll be interested in. And I make some pretty bizarre alt comedy stuff anyways. So it kind of made sense to, use Skittles as like the prop for the video. Basically, I just wanted to make content. It was easy for me to go stand in front of a wall with my camera and just ramble, basically write some material and spew it in my style. I love like broken speech and people who can't say words right. And like, it's kind of like how I write a joke is like a guy says a sentence backwards and that's the joke. Like there's not really a punchline for Trale Lewous, but it's more of just, it's fun to listen to him and fun to repeat him because the words he says are sort of like catchy in a way. They're wrongfully catchy. So Trale is like really fun to write. So I just went out there and just did a bunch of stuff, and then he's basically advertises for Skittles. He came and say the company, this candy rice is Skittles. So that became like a quoted thing. And after a while, Skittles put them on their website. You go to skittles.com and it was my YouTube video embedded in the top of the website. It was like, and then it was like a blog style website where they update a new thing and it gets pushed down. And it would just, you'd scroll through it, but they locked it so that my video was always at the top. No matter what they loaded, it went right below it. So I was like, I watched it for a long time. I check on it every day and they kept it there for many months. And I was like, okay, they clearly like Trale. So I just kept making more videos and hoped they would find them. And I forget how it happened in like sequence, but also I'm going to try to wrap this story up. But eventually they sent me, that's what it was. They sent me this boombox for, was that it? I don't remember. They sent me a boombox covered in Skittles. I made a dance video with it. They were like, this is, and I cut to all these different locations with me in the boombox. I was like, every time they acknowledged me, I wanted to give them something better than the last thing so that they couldn't deny working with me. Because I was trying to basically get some money out of them, and like get a national commercial as Trale Lewous. And it was just, I always have these ideas for videos, and I was like, this is perfect. I can just go and shoot this now because it will do me it'll do better than just putting it on YouTube and then it dies there. It's like getting me something more. So I did the boombox video, and then they had a contest where like you could enter to win a Skittles vending machine. And I'd seen that they gave these vending machines to Kim Kardashian, one of the Jonas Brothers, a basketball player. They're giving them to these like big celebrities. So Trale, in his entry video for him wanting to win this last vending machine they had, his whole submission was he was annoyed that he didn't just get them one anyways because he's giving them all this free advertising, and like Kim Kardashian gets one but he doesn't. So he was like kind of ticked off in his submission. And how you won the contest was you load your video or your picture or your text. You could basically just enter text, an image, or a video, and in each format you'd have to say why you want the vending machine. So Trale did his whole spew, and I cut through all of the videos I've made for them for free, the amount of views they've gotten for free. And he's like, and you better, I'm just waiting for it now or whatever. You could probably find the video on YouTube. So he basically demanded a thing, and it was based on votes. So whoever got the most votes won the vending machine. So I kind of was like, had an upper hand because I had all these people who watched the thing. So when Trale announced he was entering this, he got 30,000 votes, and second place had like 800 votes. So I kind of like blew everybody out of the water. And then they sent me the vending machine. So I was like, I already had in my head a whole idea for a commercial I would shoot once I got the vending machine. I wasn't just going to get it and enjoy it. I was going to like shoot some stuff with it. So if you look up Skittles head explosion, that was the commercial I made where Trale basically gets delivered this vending machine. And it also tied in their new Skittles at the time, which was blenders. So Trale was starting to, I made it like, tried to make it like, oh, this is something Bed Pie want to advertise for. Anyways, it's their new Skittles. So Trale holds up his Skittles blenders, as he says. And then this vending machine comes. So it's like really just, I just filled it with the vending machine with blenders, and I had blenders, all the flavor all in the spot. So Trale's head explodes because he can't believe he got this vending machine. And then he's running around headless with Skittles spewing out of his neck, and he's picking up the Skittles off the ground.
I've seen that.
So Skittles really liked that, and they're like, wow, okay, we need to do stuff with you. So that's when we signed this contract where I would become the spokesperson for Skittles for a year. And there was this whole contest that they had where people could enter to win, to be flown to LA, to be in a spot with Trale, and you win a pinball machine. And then the woman who won came out, didn't even want the pinball machine. So I bought it off of her, and then I used the pinball machine in more videos. So it just kept going. But I haven't done Trale in a long time. but I have Trale 2.0 planned for this year. I'm bringing Trale back in a very unique, different way. So Trale and my Ray Amsley, my peg leg self-defense character, and Keith, Ray, and Trale have big. I keep saying Keith, Ray, and Trale 2.0 for 2019. I think people will be very pleased with this new Trale thing that's going to come out. So
I'm looking forward to. I know, like I mentioned, I had a friend send me the Trale Lewous commercial. I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, and my brothers have the same sense of humor that I do. My younger brother, and I went home for Christmas that year, and I'm flipping around on YouTube. I'm like, you got to check this out, and I brought it up, and my mother came by. She's like, what are you guys watching? And my brother thought it was hilarious. My mother still does not have any clue why we thought that was funny at all.
Which is even funnier.
And those are the best jokes. Those are always the best jokes.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
And at the Free Play Florida this year, obviously Keith was there, not Trale. I did appreciate, however, that a little bit of Trale came out for just a moment there. That brings up a question. Most people know you through the 85 different characters you do. Are there any of the characters that people come up all the time and say, hey, do this character, and inside you just like, oh, please don't make me do this one again?
No. Well, the thing that happens a lot is, people sometimes will drive by and yell Skittles. So that's cool. And then what happens most of the time is people will say, hey, do the dance. And that's happened a lot. And they're referencing the no bones dance, which is like this a whole other thing that it's now in Fortnite. It's become crazy. This dance that I do, and it's not even really a dance. It's just me flopping around. But I did it with the Miami Dolphins cheerleaders. And it's like really like gone on forever for me. So it's like I'm just milking it as long as I can. But I just like do some different funny, weird dances, and that's one of them that kind of hit because I think it's the easiest one for people to do. But I was one time at Universal Studios at Halloween Horror Nights out here in LA.
Hollywood.
And yes. And you like go, it's during Halloween, you go and there's like zombies everywhere, and you're like supposed to avoid the zombies, and then they kind of chase you and stuff. And there was me and my friends were walking through this, I think it was the War of the Worlds set, with this like a crash plane, the Tom Cruise version. There's a crash
over
plane
by the
there.
Psycho house and all that.
Yeah, over there. And right by the plane, a zombie comes right up in my face, and I was like, oh no, he's like trying to freak me out. And he breaks character. It goes, hey, do the dance. And I was like, what? I was so like surprised because I was like, what's he saying? Oh, weird. This guy like recognizes me and wants me to do the no bones dance. So I go, all right, and I did. I start flopping around, and then he goes, nice. And then he gets back into zombie character, starts walking away. It was so funny. Me and my friends were dying laughing because he's doing his job as a zombie, and he like totally broke character for me to do sort of my zombie dance, which was kind of coincidental. But anyways, that was cool. I don't mind if anyone recognizes me for anything. I will do whatever they want, because the fact that they even know I'm alive is amazing to me. So I will do anything for anyone.
Well, let's talk about the dance thing for a second. I didn't bring this up when I was announcing what all you do, but you've also been in several music videos as a dancer. And this podcast is, again, it's about just showing people things that they can take away themselves when they're trying to build up their own platform.
Yep.
How did you get into these music videos?
I just put up dance videos of my own. I will basically I try to make videos that it's usually just me and my tripod, or like my friend Paul or my brother Seth, and I need to figure out a way to film something interesting looking with the minimal production value that I have of me and a broken tripod. So one way of doing that was to make these dance videos where I was like, oh, if I'll just stand in one place, go to a spot, dance, go to another spot, do the same dance, same spot, and just cut them all together. It'll look cool in the edit, but it's really just simple filmmaking or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I go to like 100 spots over like a couple of weeks and a couple of days or whatever. And then I just edit it all together to a song that I really like. And I started doing that, and they started getting like a lot of views, and I became known as like the dancing guy. So then I stopped because I didn't want people to think I was like a dancer, because people, that's like all they thought of me for was dancing. And I was like, I need to show people I do characters and show some other stuff. And that's like why I have this goatee now, because I want to show people I'm not just a physical comedian and Jim Carrey type. Is I want to show people I can actually act, because I forget, I get caught up in one thing and it goes like crazy, and I get all these music videos and I'm like, oh, I forgot. Like I want to like be, making, like writing good dialogue and acting like some good scenes and like show some actual acting. But like YouTube pays and all these music videos pay, and I end up just like flopping around, and it's fun, but I don't want to lose focus of the original dream, which is to like make movies and TV shows. But in the meantime, I got to eat. So I do all this YouTube stuff. And then I also do these dance videos, but the dance videos, I just did them on my own for fun. When there's a song that I really like and I just like have to make a dance video to it because I like the song so much, it's gonna drive me nuts if I don't just go film this. So that started with that. I made like some dance videos. My friend Paul made one for chip contest. It was like, show us your touchdown dance. So we went, this is the very first one I ever did like this. We went around and it's just me. I got a touchdown, and then I go dancing around all these locations in Santa Monica, and it won the contest. We won $10,000. So that was cool. So then after that, I just kept filming more like that because it was an easy format. And I just changed the song, changed my outfit, changed the whole story and theme of the video, where it's like a safari guy running from a lion. And then I did that for one of my favorite bands in the world, Yell. This French pop band, and they saw the video and liked it. And I kind of played into the theme of that album, which was it was called Safari Disco Club, and they were all wearing safari clothes. So it's like, okay, I'll have my brother dress as a lion and I'll wear safari clothes. And they liked it, and they like advertised it, and they pushed it, and they mentioned, then they had me come dance on stage at their shows live. And then I got in like their next music video, and then I shot another one of my own for them. And then Julie, the singer, was in that one, and now I've become like really good friends with them, and I visit them and stay at their house in France, and we've become really good friends, and they were like just my favorite band, and I just wanted to make this music video for them because I liked the song. So every time I do something that I'm truly like just like passionate about and excited for, that I really don't have any other benefit to making it besides I just like it, those are the things that end up turning into something bigger and better. So I just keep now following my instincts. It's like, if I just have this big idea and I'm really excited about it, I have to do it. And I'm hoping in the back of my mind something good will come of it. But if not, I still had fun doing it, and it was a cool thing. So yeah, after doing all these dance videos, I just started getting asked by like big singers to like be in their music videos, because everyone was seeing these dance videos, and I was like, yeah, sure, but I'm not a real dancer, right? So I've done like a bunch. I was in a Flow Rida thing, I was in Haim, that band, I was in a Pharrell video, I was just in, there's a video that didn't come out and I'm bummed. It's Imagine Dragons. I just did it like 6 months ago, and it was going to be huge. Just the lyric version of the song has like 100 million views, and it's just the lyrics. So this video would have been huge, and it was Keith Appicary as a scientist, and it was very big production value. It was like a really big shoot. But then I don't even know, I probably shouldn't even be talking about it, but there was just some artistic differences like between like everyone involved, and it ended up not.
So it won't be out.
It won't be out unless someday unless the label at some point is allowed to post it as like an alternative video, and after they make the other video for the song. But the song is like already a hit, so it's like kind of a waste for them not put it up. And it's a bummer for me, because it would have been huge for me. People have been like, oh, it's Keith Appicary, he's still in music videos, this is cool. But yeah, like either way, it's still cool that I get asked to be in these things. Just because
that one recently where you went out to the dance audition for
for Kimberly Cole. Yeah, that was a few years back, but that one, that was cool. That was just like a prank video, and then that ended up getting me in the actual music video as well. But yeah, that's one of Keith's more famous videos, the Kimberly Cole dance audition prank. So that was really fun. But yeah, I just make stuff, people see it, and then I tend to get asked to do things. So and whenever people ask me like how to start, and I guess this is sort of what your podcast is about, is like, telling people like kind of like what to do and where to go and what to pursue. I always just tell people, whatever you have in your mind, like just film it. I film everything. I film every video. Some of them stink, no one watches, but then some turn into something. And I have this new character, this new project I'm working on, which is what I was working on tonight before we started talking. It's I feel so excited about this thing, and it's like totally different than anything else I've ever made. So I think it will lead to some cool, fun, interesting, I don't know, paths. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I wish I could spill my guts about it, but I shouldn't talk about it.
Since you can't tell us what it actually is yet, can you tell us how long before we'll find out ourselves?
I'm trying to get the first thing up in February. Mid-February is when I film the first piece of this. And people who are watching my channel already know about this character and have seen this character popping up. And many people are very confused. And it's kind of confusing and weird. But it won't make sense, but it'll make more sense when you see the actual things. But oh man, it's so expansive, and like I can't even go into it. I don't even know what I would say about it, even if I was openly talking about it. It's just too much to talk about. Well, this is probably really crappy
spoilers out there. I will say you've been doing a storyline through your videos for the last call it about a month now.
Yeah, and it's mostly just sort of like to let people know something's going on, but it's not even really. It's just sort of to introduce the person. But it's not even touching the tip of the iceberg, honestly. It's just sort of advertising for that person is what's going on right now. And it's all in tone creatively with what you'll see later.
And I will tell you this, Nathan, there's a small group of creators and I that have a little private Facebook chat going on right now where we kind of talk about what we're watching, what we're just all the day-to-day stuff. Mm-hmm. And there have been several conversations of, what the hell is Nathan doing? So I know that's what you're looking for. So.
Oh yeah.
So some of the other characters that you've done, and then I kind of want to switch tracks a little bit because there's some new stuff that you're working on that I definitely want to get to. Some of the characters that you've done before, besides the Keith Appicary character, which has become a favorite at conventions and events across the country. You've got Trale Lewous, who was picked up by Skittles primarily. You've got the guy from, and forgive me, his name's slipping my mind, but he's the character from Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, Trevor
from Grand Theft Auto, dragging his corpse throughout Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Which is it's very obvious that you're not telling people before you go film in those areas.
Nope.
You've got the peg leg gentleman that you've been doing recently.
Yeah, Ray Emsley.
Yep. And then this last week you put up a commercial for Far Cry. I understand the video game Far Cry.
Yeah. So that was from last year when the game came out, and I just got it sent to me because I was asking them, I was like, hey, can I put this online? And they just approved that I could take it and put it online. So it's a little bit late, but now it's actually kind of timely because there's a new Far Cry coming out. So it's sort of timely. But yeah, that was just a commercial that aired on Adult Swim that I was cast in, and I just threw it online. So it's not my character, I think.
Well,
yeah.
And you do a lot of commercials, obviously. I've seen you as a zombie before. I've seen you
GameStop before. Yep. Oh yeah, that was Snapple. That was a good one. That was a really fun commercial to do. They like spun me all around. They had me in the whole suit, and they just had me hanging in the sky. That was pretty cool. So yeah.
Are you doing? I know you've got some big projects right now, but are you still looking to do more commercials? Are you looking? And I know you've done your fair share of pilots and TV shows. In terms of working on other people's projects at the moment, what would you say for the people who are just getting started in Hollywood off of your experience? Go for commercials, go for pilots. What would you say is the first stepping stone?
The first stepping stone is, I'd say it's more likely that you'll get some commercials, because usually people who first start acting, but you never know. I say go for anything and everything, because you got to eat and you got to work. So take it all, honestly. But what I've learned myself personally and through friends, it's like most people end up booking commercials because they're kind of easier to get, and you get sent out for something that's more appropriate for you. And there's a lot of people that go out for commercials, so the odds are still a little crazy. But I've been lucky where I've just booked a lot of commercials because my agent knows what they're looking for. It's like, oh, Nathan will work for this type, this like weird goofy guy, or this dad type character, or whatever. So he sends me out for what they're looking for. He doesn't send me out for like the Audi commercials where it's like some charming husband giving like his model wife a car for Christmas. I do other spots. So it depends on your agent and if they send you out for appropriate roles. Most people I've learned or noticed will book commercials before they book some TV stuff. But if you also have a theatrical agent, which is who sends you out on TV and movie auditions, you could get lucky and book your first thing if it's like you're appropriate for the part and you nail the audition. But I say just do it all. And if you can get yourself a rep, you got to get an agent. Well, first, what I did when I moved to LA was I just went on Craigslist and looked for people who were casting for commercials or like any show that what you didn't need an agent for, you could just submit yourself. But that's non-union stuff. That's not in the SAG union. And then you can build up a reel and then submit the stuff you've worked on to an agent. That agent will then get you out for big, legitimate SAG jobs or TV shows. But you kind of have to have some sort of example of your work. I got my commercial agent and then my theatrical agents that I first had when I moved out here by showing them videos. I cut together a reel of some of the better moments of videos that I personally had made. It was actually on a VHS tape because it was easier for people at that. It was 2005. Yeah, people were still using VHS tapes over like DVDs, and then YouTube wasn't really a thing until like a year later, and people still weren't even really using it. But yeah, so I sent a VHS tape of that I recorded from a DVD I had because I didn't have things on YouTube, and because I made videos since I was like a teenager, and these were videos that I showed that I had made the year in Massachusetts before moving to California. And my agent was like, "Oh, these are really funny. Okay, I can see that you have comedic timing. You can act and deliver lines. I'll sign you." And then that's how I got my first agent. And now,
how long were you in Hollywood before you got your agent?
It was maybe like 6 months. And it was all kind of like a luck thing. I think you can submit cold to an agent and like email them, be like, send a cover letter that says, "Hey, I'm so-and-so." Now it's much easier, I would imagine, because you can say, "Hey, I'm so-and-so. I don't have an agent. Here's some of my stuff." And if you have good stuff like links, YouTube links or whatever, a reel of things you filmed of your own, and then you're good. And then like, you're sort of tonally in line with what that agency wants to represent, or if you're sort of the demographic, or you're like the type of person that they don't currently represent. Like if some other place already had like another skinny, bald, white guy, I probably wouldn't get represented by them because they already have that. But so you got to you get lucky with someone who's like, "Oh, I need someone like you so I can send you out for these roles." But I forget what I was saying. I lost track already.
Agents.
Oh, what about agents? Oh, no, sorry. I found my spot. So I got lucky in my age because I was riding my bike to work. I was working at a store, Urban Outfitters, and it was midnight and there was no cars around, and it was a red light. And so I just rode my BMX bike through the red light because there was no one on the street, like anywhere. And then a police officer was parked somewhere and saw me, and he pulled me over. I was going like literally 4 miles an hour riding a BMX bicycle, and he gave me a ticket for running a red light. I was like, "Really? There's no one around, and I'm on a BMX bike. It's after midnight." And he's like, "Sorry, you gotta wait." And I was thinking the light's not even gonna change because it's not gonna sense me. But anyways, I was like, "Well, I can't pay this $300 ticket." So I went and did community service instead of paying the ticket. And the community service I was able to choose was doing a bunch of cleanup work at a theater. So there was a theater in Santa Monica, and I was like, "This is better," because I like, I act and I did theater and stuff. So I would just basically clean up the theater. And that guy who ran the theater was friends with a commercial agent, and he thought I was funny. He's like, "You should meet my friend who's an agent because you're really funny." And I ended up getting that agent. I still have that agent today. So that was almost 14 years ago now.
Oh, wow,
that's crazy.
It's funny you say you sent up for the dad parts, and when you said that, I kind of like I look back at things because you're a couple years younger than I am. And I'm like, no, you can't be old enough for that. And then I realized that I'm actually am that dad. So I guess that never mind.
Yeah, is it weird? Like I'm turning 38 on Saturday, on February 2nd, and it's like, really? The
I hit
number,
40 in October.
wow. The number, it makes you think it's just a number. It doesn't matter. Like I genuinely feel the same that I felt when I was 14 years old, and I still act the same way. And like it's like, but you don't like the number because that number to you as the 14-year-old in your head that's never going to change sees that number as like the end of life almost. It's getting closer to the end of life. And like
Yeah.
that's an adult. And that's like what a it's like I hope that people who are like teenagers right now and in their early 20s really enjoy every millisecond of their life. Like not that like it's like gets worse or anything. I still have fun every second of my life. But it's weird. Like I'm also a very nostalgic person and I miss like yesterday. I miss everything.
Yes.
So like the farther older I get, it's just like, oh yeah, you're not 19 anymore and you're not like young. But I get upset for like a second and get kind of like weird panicky, but then I'm like, oh, well, who cares? Because I still act like a 14-year-old and I do whatever the heck I want all the time. Life's pretty great being 38 because when I was 19, I couldn't do whatever I wanted. But now I actually, now at 38, I can act more like a 19-year-old than I could when I was 19. If that makes sense.
And look at it, here we are in 2019, and we both have the long hair parted, just like
it was like we did in the 90s.
I don't know about you, but that's not how I expected to start my year. But here we are.
Oh well, gotta go with it.
So, I've mentioned several times that you've got another project that you're working on right now, and I want to point out that as much as we talk about the comedy you do, there is a more serious end of what you're working on right now too. And the big project right now, if we can talk about it, is a passion project of yours by the name of Milford, which I believe is named after the city in New England that you come from, correct?
Yes, it's
not a comedy, a full comedy.
Oh yeah, there's like some humorous moments, but for the most part, it's like a dramatic film, I guess. But I feel weird saying that because it's not like, I don't know. I maybe drama is a wide category, but it's basically more just kind of real in a way. It's not like breakups and romance and like struggles. It's nothing like that. It's just kind of like a slice of life. And if people aren't familiar with like what that type of movie would be, like the Florida Project, which I don't think is like not everyone has watched it that I've learned, but like I loved it and it's one of my favorite movies. And after watching it, I highly recommend people watch it. It's really
a heavy
good
movie.
It is
movie.
I've watched it like 5 times now. Also, that's a little more of a comedy because the little girl in it is like really funny and she's like, swearing and acting all crazy as like a 5-year-old, 6-year-old kid or whatever. So that inherently has more comedy to it. Mine isn't as humorous, but that motivated me and inspired me to be like, okay, I'm going to finally do it. I'm going to make my own slice of life type movie. So it's inspired by the Florida Project. But I was like, I'll do my version of it. And I'm from Milford, Massachusetts. That's where my parents live right now. And in Milford, there's not really much going on. And my character is based on what I did when I was 19 and I didn't want to ever get a real job. And I would just do random things for money. Or work at one place for a day and quit just to get the money that they paid me for like the one day of training. And then I just quit. And then I do it again somewhere else. But then I started running out of places I could do that from because I went everywhere in Milford. But I was also a grave digger in Milford. I didn't mention that in the show, but like I did a lot of just random stuff for cash. So that's what this character does. And it's like freezing and miserable and everyone's grumpy because it's winter and everyone in Massachusetts gets really grumpy and they hate their life. And on the East Coast, Northeast, it's just everyone's kind of miserable. So that's sort of like the tone of it. And this guy's always talking about, my character is always talking about like leaving. He's like, oh, I'm out of here. I'm going to go to California at some point, which is based on me because I was talking about it for a few years and people were like, sure, you're going to go. But I was working as this grave digger to save my money to then go to California. So it's sort of like about me, but like it's like loosely here and there stuff that happened in my life. The character is nothing like me, but it's just a character I thought would be fun to play because he was different completely different than me. I'm like really happy and goofy all the time. So this guy is just more like straight and kind of like beaten down by the weather and like the lifestyle of that, you know, he has to live in Milford, Massachusetts. And the look of him is inspired by another movie, which is a pretty heavy movie called Good Time. Good Time is a movie I think a lot of people should watch as well. Totally not like my movie or the Florida Project, but the look of the guy who's in it, I forget his name all the time, but it's the guy from the Twilight movies, like the hunk, Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
That guy is such a good actor, and you wouldn't know it if you'd only seen him in Twilight. He's really good. I didn't even realize it was him at first. In Good Time, I was like, people were like, "It's Robert Pattinson." I was like, no, it can't be that guy. He looks so different. Sparkling. Yeah, he's not sparkling. He's not like romancing this person. So it was his look and just how real he looked, like a real person you'd see on the street in like the Northeast. That takes place in New York City. So it's like, or New York, somewhere around New York City. But I liked the way he looked. So it kind of made me want to look how I currently look right now. And place it in that. So between those two movies, it inspired me to do something that just wasn't a comedy. And now the next thing I'll make will be a straight up comedy, going back to like, because it's funny, guys, I've done these two projects. I did Neutral, my last short film, and it was like humorous, but it was like not super funny, but it had like more quirkiness to it. It was more colorful and kind of like, you know, it had like some magic in there. So it was kind of like more of a light movie. Mm-hmm. Milford is more of just like kind of real and straight and kind of a bummer, but not really a bummer. And I've been getting funded by these things from people online, like these Indiegogos and these Kickstarter accounts that are fundraisers that I'm doing. And I'm feeling kind of guilty about it because I'm like getting less money to make these things, and I'm known for comedy, and none of these things I'm making are comedy. But people are still like wanting to see them, so it kind of makes me feel good. At least the support is there, and the people trust and believe in what I'm going to do. But the next thing I do, which I hopefully won't even have to crowdsource it because I just hate doing it. I hate asking people for money. I don't want to do it ever again. I'm hoping to make the next legitimate, nice-looking short film or full feature film a straight-up comedy. Just to kind of get back to like making funny things. That's what I truly love to do.
Are you starting to write it already? Or
I have 3 ideas. One is a comedy, but it's heavier on like the magic side, and it's similar to Neutral in a way. And it would star me and Phoebe Neidhart, who was in Neutral with me, the girl with the short brown hair. She's amazing. She's a really great actor, and she's literally in every commercial in the world and on every television show. And I need to shoot as much as I can with her while I can, because she's going to be huge soon. So it'll be that one idea. And then I have my Ray Amsley, the self-defense peg leg character. I have a movie that I think is genuinely the funniest thing I've ever written. Like, it's so funny to me. And like, it makes me sick that it hasn't been made. And I tried to do a fundraiser for it years ago, and it didn't really get there. But I think now that people kind of like know that I do this, and I've done it 2 times now, I could probably earn the money for this, because a lot of people have been asking me for it, like online. Like, so I think if I said, all right, finally, I'm going to do a comedy, and it's like straight up, it's genuinely the thing that I think is the funniest I've ever made, I think I could maybe get the support. But I'm hoping to try to get support and funding from like a actual like a investor or a financer somewhere or a brand or something, and not have to ask the internet for money anymore. And then I also have another idea for a movie with my Simmons DuPont character, which is my personal favorite character of all of my characters. And he's just like a know-it-all guy who's in top A1 physical muscular body condition. So the one of those 3 ideas I will hopefully do next. We'll see. I'm not sure what one it'll be.
Well, let me ask you this on Milford. I know you put out not too long before you started producing. You put out a teaser trailer of a bit of footage that you put together just to show what Milford could be.
Yeah,
people saw it. People loved it. People started doing the crowdfunding. When do you think Milford is going to be readily available for the general public, and how are they going to be able to see Milford if all goes according to plan?
Well, for the people who invested, once I have like the first like edit done that I think is good for people to see, I'll put it on Vimeo once it's like sort of like the first final cut, and then I'll probably do some little tweaking here and there. I'll put that first final cut up on Vimeo as a private link for all the people who paid, so they'll be able to see it like ASAP. And I think that could be like early April or end of March or something. So like in a month or two. I would love to do it like next week and just show people immediately like some stuff, but I should wait till it's like I had to do some sound design and then people are making music for it. So once that all takes time and I can't control that. But if it was up to me, I could edit the whole thing by Monday, honestly, and then put it up. But I would need the music still and the sound mixing. A guy in Atlanta does that. So it takes some time. And then the colorist, the guy needs to color correct it. And that takes a while because they're working on like Star Wars and things. So
I've heard of that.
But yeah, like that's what, when I was doing neutral, they were color correcting neutral. The company's called Photochem, and they were color correcting mine. And then next door, they were doing Star Wars in like the next room. And they had like the hard drive was like apparently like handcuffed to like a briefcase or something so that it couldn't be taken. And someone has to guard it at all times. It sounded pretty nuts. So I had to like wait for them to do that to finish neutral. So I was like, okay, I guess I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they're doing it for a favor for me, it's not really a priority. But anyways, I would say for people who donated, they could see it maybe early April. And then the general public, unfortunately, because like the whole point of these things is to get to go to film festivals and like change my life and my career. And if it gets into Sundance, that would be huge for me. So the general public who didn't donate will have to wait until after next winter because film festivals don't want it to be seen anywhere. And they want it to be like a special thing for them. So it's like the first time you get to see it is at our film festival. And if it's been at a few other film festivals, that's not as bad. They'll still take you. But if it's just readily available on the internet, not many of the bigger prestigious film festivals are interested because it's like, it's not very special to us anymore. So Sundance is my main goal for this one because Neutral didn't get in. And I think it was because Neutral was too long. Maybe it stunk as well. Who knows? But it was 22 minutes. And I've learned through festival programmers that short films, 15 minutes is like max length for them. Yeah, which is kind of dumb because all film festivals say the timeline is 45 minutes for a short film, but that's not true because they don't let anything in beyond 15 minutes. So like 10 minutes is good. 3 minutes is like best because then they can just cramp in a shorts block. It makes sense because the film festivals I did get into, they'd have an hour and a half of short films. Neutral was like this much of it. And then they had like all these other ones because Neutral was 22 minutes long. So I understand it's getting heavier. And if they want to pair it, sometimes they'll pair a short film before a feature film. And people only want to sit through like a 5-minute thing before they get to watch the movie they're intending to watch. So I'm going to try to get like a 14-minute cut of Milford, but then I'm also going to have a 30-minute cut. That'll be the director's cut, which will go online on my YouTube channel in like next January. So I won't know if it gets into Sundance until December. It's like right around Christmas. So it's like, I know it's like a year
for a while then.
Yeah, I unfortunately can't really rush it because there's no point in rushing it, but I want to at least get the backers to be able to see it soon, which would be nice. And then over the summer, I'll we'll be finishing it and maybe it'll be done by April completely if all the music comes together and all the sound mixing and everything is done. But the main goal for this is to change my life and do other things. So, and that's what Sundance would do for me. So that's the plan.
And as someone who has talked about this with a few other creators, we all figured from the very get-go that Sundance was going to be the gameplay, and I personally I'm going to put some money on this one. I think that's going to happen this year.
Oh man, well thank you. I'm glad you feel that way, and your confidence makes me very happy. So yeah, the teaser kind of shows like an example of the tone, but it doesn't show. There's a major element to the film that is not shown in the teaser, and I didn't want to give that away. There's sort of like a kind of unique thing that happens in it, which I think kind of keeps it interesting, and it's not just some like straight drama about a guy's life. There's some like cool visual storytelling things that we did to enhance the story, like cinematically. Some visual tricks, I guess you could maybe say. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that element, it will be a new thing for everyone who has seen the teaser. But for the most part, it follows this dude who says he's going to leave Massachusetts and never does. And we'll see, if he just, because like most people in Massachusetts, they say stuff, but then they end up not leaving because they get a girlfriend and then they get a job and then they work a lot and then you get a car and you get a house and it's like, now I'm stuck. And that's like all my friends in Massachusetts. Not that they're like feel stuck because they like being there and like they're happy with their lives. But for me, someone who wanted to leave, that isn't what I would have wanted. I wanted to get out. And if I ended up like, you know, having a kid with someone and I'd be like, oh no, I can't leave. That's like scary to me as someone who's afraid of commitment and just wants to be running around California. But I'll be sad and alone forever. So that's like the price I pay for my creative freedom.
Hey, you got that video game cat behind you. So
that's all I need.
I've seen your face on a promotional pillow once, so I mean, you know.
There you go, yeah. And I was on a billboard for Kmart once, so that's cool.
I mean, seriously, who needs kids?
Win-win, right?
I will say this: I'm from Cleveland because here in Orlando, you've spent enough time here to know that nobody is actually from Orlando. My daughter was born in Orlando. She's one of 3 people.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah. It's she's like a little a zoo creature that you come by and look at. It's real fruity. I made 34 years in Cleveland before I got out of town.
Wow.
And, as much as I love my hometown, I also really love to make fun of my hometown. I made it 34 years before I got out of there, and I know what you're talking about. I had my son before we moved out of Cleveland, and I had the same fear. I like if I have a kid, then I'll never leave town.
Yeah.
But thankfully, some stuff happened, and it just made it a lot easier.
Nice.
I'm not sure why I'm even going into this right now.
Yeah,
but here we are.
For people who do want to like leave, and not that people have to leave. I have a lot of friends that love the towns that are in Massachusetts and love Boston, and like I have friends that have moved away. And my friend who came with me to California, he's back in Boston now, and he's doing really well. And he has like his own company, and he's like just likes the city, and he rides his bicycle everywhere through the city, all through the winter. He makes bicycles, and he's just genuinely happy there. So I'm not knocking like never leaving your town. But, you know, it's nice to go see something else and try something else. And for me, I just didn't want it. There was nothing for me because I wanted to act, and he couldn't do that in Milford, Massachusetts. I did it a little bit in Boston. I do some commercials, but it was just so limiting. So personally, for what I wanted to do, California was the place. So I think it's nice just to hear people go, because there's an industry in different industries in every city, and the one that you want to be a part of might be not in your hometown. So you got to go do it. And it's easy to not. So that's kind of what this is about. It's like easy to like just not do anything and not try. So this guy, like, you know, we'll find out if he becomes a, you know, I don't want to say, I don't want to speak. I'm not gonna talk.
We'll find out in a year if he does, but
yeah. Or the backers will find out in a couple months.
You should have backed it, guys. You should have thrown a few bucks.
Yeah. Or just send me some money now, and I'll say you're a backer, and then I'll send you the link. Buy the link from me.
We're gonna have links down below in the show notes. At the end of all the podcast, I like to wrap things up by asking a couple questions that I ask the same question to each and every person, and it's always cool to see the completely different answers that we get. The first one is what is in your daily filming toolkit? What do you bring with you when you're gonna go film? Every time.
Every time. Usually it depends on what the video is. Sometimes it's a giant lens that I've rented and a Red camera or an Alexa and 15 people, depending on the shoot. And the other times it's me and my broken tripod that has duct tape on it, and that's it, and the outfit that the character is wearing. Most of the time it's that. Most of the time it's just me, this broken tripod, and my Canon 7D camera. And then whatever the character is wearing. That's when I'm filming something in the public or like a dance video or Trale Lewous. It's just that.
The 7D comes up a lot.
7D is a good handy. I dropped it so many times. It should be broken. It still works. It shoots 1080. I mean, they probably have another one now that shoots like 4K or whatever. But that camera I've used for a long time, and it's always solid. So it's very simple and easy to use. But then there's other times where I shoot bigger and better things, like the Milford teaser, for example. That was my DP's friend, my friend who shot neutral in Milford. It's his Red camera, and then we rented a $100,000 lens. That's like a 300 millimeter zoom lens. That's like this big. It's so heavy, and it zooms like it's so far. I can zoom like a quarter mile. It's awesome. So
not an iPhone.
No,
not an iPhone that time.
No,
Let me ask
but
you,
I do shoot a lot of videos on my iPhone now, actually. like random shots in the public. Like if I need to go get something with me in a store or me just doing something in public, I'll bring I have a little tripod with like 3 of the legs I can grip to something, and I put my iPhone on it, and I've used my iPhone many times. So yeah.
What do you choose to edit on usually when you're doing just the typical YouTube videos?
All right, I use Premiere on my desktop, the one I'm on right now. That's what I'm doing Milford on. That's what I did Neutral on. I did a couple of my past videos on Premiere, but then on my laptop I have Final Cut 7, and I purposely like do not update my laptop because Final Cut 7 isn't like, they don't let you use it anymore. You have to upgrade to like Final Cut X, which is like iMovie, and Final Cut 7 was just a really good editing program. It was very easy to use. So I do a lot because I'm so fast on that. I use the Final Cut 7 to edit like a YouTube video. But then the nicer things, the things that like when I shoot on bigger, better footage, I just dump it in Premiere because it'll handle the footage better and process it better. And I can export it at like higher resolutions. So it depends on the footage. If it's like lo-fi footage, Final Cut 7. If it's hi-fi, then I go Premiere. Yeah. And they're like the same exact thing. It's like using the same program. It's just the color scheme is different.
I've done Premiere. I haven't done the other one before.
Final Cut 7 is like Premiere, but everything's gray instead of like the blue or green or whatever that Premiere is. Like I'm colorblind, but yeah, Final Cut 7 is like the same thing. You can even, there's a setting in Premiere to set it up to look like Final Cut 7. You can go to your workspace and select Final Cut 7, and it looks like you're in Final Cut 7. Yeah. Because I know a lot of people switched from Final Cut 7 to Premiere, so they made it like easy for people to use.
And those are the 2 programs besides iMovie, of course, that people usually keep telling me. I've been using Power Director personally, but so far,
I never heard of that.
Yeah, it's I do a lot of stuff. I'm an Android guy, and just because of, again, having two kids running around, getting quiet time to sit at a desktop doesn't come up all that often. So
yeah.
But it's like me and 3 other people using it. So
that's cool.
Let me ask you this. This is the part where I like to give people a chance to kind of shout out other creators. What podcasts, what YouTube stations, books, websites, tools, whatever are you using right now that you're really digging or that are making a big difference to you?
Trying to think. I don't listen to many podcasts, but there is one podcast that I do listen to. It's called Lore. It's pretty popular. A lot of people might know about it. The guy has like his own Amazon show now. That's this podcast's got him. So I wish I could shout out like a smaller podcast, but the Doughboys. You should check out the Doughboys. So Lore's like spooky, and the guy he does like 2 a month, and he like researches like folklore and like a lot of things that take place in New England and England about like ghosts and like the Mothman and just kind of stuff, like spooky kind of stuff. And it's pretty interesting because it's all real stuff or taken from history. But then the Doughboys are some of my friends out here that are comedians in LA, and I was on one episode of them. So I should shout out the Doughboys because they're really cool guys. Nick and Mitch, Mike Mitchell. And they basically review fast food restaurants, and they'll eat at a different fast food restaurant. They'll have a guest with them that will also eat that place, and they'll all talk about it. And they're just really funny. So it kind of doesn't really matter what they're talking about. It's just the fact that that's what they're talking about is what it is. But they're just goofy. And Mike Mitchell is from Massachusetts as well, and he's like a real Boston guy, so he's got that whole thing going on. And Nick is sort of like a robot in a way, an android. That's kind of like what Mitch like makes fun of him. That's a whole bit where he says Nick is just like an android. But anyways, yeah, I'd shout out those guys. I don't know what I would say for videos though. My brother, I think people should check out my brother's videos. Seth is his name. His name online is Cheffid Rigsby, which is a very weird name, I know. Cheffid. That's what we call him. And my brother, he makes like, his videos are better than mine, like for real. Like he's just like, he directed Milford actually. He and I like co-directed, but honestly, it was just Seth that directed like the whole thing. He's just got like, he's easier for him to like direct an actor, and he has better instincts. And I like to think like decide on things visually, like how the framing should be and like when the zoom should happen, and put the car here. My OCD kind of like helps me arrange like a scene. And then other than that, like it's hard for me to explain to an actor how I want them to deliver a line. It should be easier because I am an actor, but it's hard for me to direct myself too. In Neutral, I think some of my acting suffered because I was focusing so much on like dragging from the car and making sure you couldn't see my brother who was laying down driving the car, and then you could see that that car was actually moving by itself. And then I had to make sure Phoebe said her line on time. And then when it comes my time to say the line, I was like, what is my line? I don't even remember now. So I didn't get a chance to really focus on my directing myself. So it was nice to have Seth directing Milford, and he's just got really good instincts and knows how to. He was good in this because I wanted this to feel very real. And he watches a lot of like just real like life type movies, like French films with just good realistic acting. And he knew what to say to all the actors. He's like, no, you say it like this when you're thinking. And I was just like, oh, this is such a relief for me because he's kind of just handling it. But anyways, Seth, he makes some pretty weird videos, and I think the videos you should check out if you want to check out any of his videos are the night videos, and then Guy. There's one called Guy Bucket, which is really funny, and his physical comedy is like very impressive. And I was like kind of jealous that he did this video because I was like, I wish I had done this. Guy Bucket, Guy Car. It's like Guy, and then it's him with a bucket in that one, and then he's him with a car, so it's Guy Car. And then he has these other ones called 11 p.m., 12 a.m., and 1 a.m. I think those are really good videos.
1 a.m.
What? And so he's did a thing in that I did in my Trevor dance video. There's some shots in my Trevor dance video where the camera is like pulling away from me, and I'm following, kind of like the lenses here, and it's like following me. That was just my camera in the back of my car, and I put it in gear and drive and just let it drive down the road. And then I danced behind it. And then when I was done my shot and the car started nearing the end of the road, I had to run around and dive in the driver's side window and put my hand on the brake to stop the car. Yep. So Seth did the same thing with my car, and I didn't know he was doing it, but he did it from the profile. So he put the camera in the back seat, pointing out the side window, put the car in gear and let it drive itself down the street. And it luckily had a good alignment and it went straight. And then he just walked next to the car. So he got this really long dolly tracking shot in one of the videos. I think it was the 12 a.m. or the 1 a.m. one. And it was just a long shot of him just walking down the sidewalk. And it's just the car filming him driving itself. And I will go on forever. I'm not sure. I'm going to try to shut myself up right now. He made this short film that I'm begging him to put on the internet called Solar. He did it all himself, 100% himself. He did things that I think Steven Spielberg would be impressed by, because it's just like truly DIY parking. He wanted to get the shot in the middle of the desert, and he's in the middle of this desert lake bed. Yeah. And he wanted the camera to be circling around him like this. Cool. And it was just him out there by himself. So he thought, okay, I'll put the car, because I've done it in the past, and he did some more self-car driving stuff. Like, it's pretty insane. I gotta have him put it online, and I'm gonna promote the heck out of it when he does.
I want to see that.
It's so good. So he got this shot where he's in the middle of the lake bed, and he put the camera in the back seat, and then he put the car, and it's a manual car too, so he had to like put it in gear and put something on the gas to get the gas to be pushed down a little so the car didn't stall. So then when he wanted to just drive off on him, he needed the wheel to be turned. So in order to get the wheel to stay turned, he turned the wheel, put a rope on it, tied it to the door, put it in gear, put it in drive, put something on the gas, jumped out of the car, and the car just starts doing circles. And then he just jumps in the middle of the car and is getting the shot for him, and the camera's just rolling in the back seat. I wish I could have been there filming him doing this, but like the description alone is just insane.
I would have had a nervous breakdown.
And then he had to like run after the car and dive in it and stop it. And then he said there was one point where he had the car drive off, and he's like chasing it, and he genuinely couldn't catch his car. Oh no! And the lake bed is so big, like it just would drive off, and there are dirt bikes that would drive through every once in a while, so he could hit someone or another person, but for the most part you're in the middle of nowhere, and the car would eventually hit like some dirt or a rock and stop, but like it could be miles away. So he's like running, and he's like, oh no, I genuinely can't get the car. He didn't know what he was going to do, and then he just started running as hard as he could, because he knew he had to get the car to stop it and to get his camera. It was my camera, actually. He had my camera in there. And he said he got lucky because the car hit a little bit of bumps in the lake bed and it slowed it down enough where he caught the trunk of the car. So he literally, if you saw my short film Neutral, I'm chasing my car and I'm trying to grab at the back of it and grab onto it, and I just barely get it. He did that in real life, trying to get the car, and he's clawing at the trunk, and he finally grabbed the trunk. He was like, took a moment, and then pulled himself on. So I feel like a cheat because I had it all like my brother was driving the car, and it was not actually driving itself alone, and I had a whole film crew in the van next to me filming it as I was. But I did genuinely drag from the car and rip my shoes open and my pants on the cement, so it was kind of risky. So I feel okay about it. But Seth, man, I wish everyone would watch Seth's stuff because it just does not get. No one watches it because he doesn't advertise is the problem. He just puts it online and then he's done with it and he moves on because he's like more of a true artist and just doesn't care if people watch it. He just wanted to make it for the sake of making it. But like, I feel like he's going to be like a legendary famous director at some point because of the fact that he just doesn't care if people see it and he just wants to make things. But his stuff is just good. So anyway, sorry, that was my really long ramble about my own brother.
Folks at home, please do not do what was just described.
Don't do it. He's a professional, or he's just lucky. You might not be as lucky.
It's, the name of the channel one more time.
It's Cheffid Rigsby, CheffidRigsby.
All right, and now that you have promoted other people, promote yourself, man. This is the big thing right now. What are you up to? What do you want people to see? What do you want people to know?
I want people to watch Milford when it comes out, which I'm sure people will because it's a lot of people know about it at this point. But just if you can, subscribe to my channel. I have a goal. I'm trying to hit 500,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I have like pretty much 360,000 right now, so I need like 140,000 more. It's just I've never gone above 360. I keep going up and below, and I teeter at 360. So I'm really trying to make a big push. I never really push my YouTube channel. I never even call myself a YouTuber, but this is where I put everything. My life's work is on this website, so I should probably push it. So if you can subscribe, that'd be really cool. I'd appreciate it. And
spell the last name.
Barnatt, Barnatt, Nathan Barnatt. So I'll tell people to watch for Dad. Watch for the Dad character. That Dad has his own channel now. So it's look for Dad. It's called Dad Feels is the name of his channel.
Would it make Dad feel great?
It would make Dad feel ecstatic if you followed and subscribed to him. Dad doesn't have any videos yet, but apparently he will soon. And I think Dad is going to take over YouTube personally. Dad's going to be big. So get ready.
And where are they going to find you online? And I say this because I know that there are your own social media profiles, but I know some of your characters also have social media profiles.
Yeah.
Do you get all those? Are those all official?
Some people have actually made ones that aren't me, but I've tried to like kind of shut them down or like tell people to stop posting so people don't get confused. But for the most part, it's just I post all the time on like Twitter and Instagram. I don't have Facebook. I don't use Facebook anymore. Keith isn't really on Facebook anymore. I kind of stopped with that. But Instagram and Twitter I'm on, and then Keith is on them, and then Dad is on Instagram and Twitter as well. Ray Amsley, he doesn't really post, but Trale Lewous is there, but he doesn't really post either. Mostly Keith and Dad.
And generally with Keith, I know he's got appearances still booked for 2019, or is anything booked yet?
No, nothing's booked yet. He might go to Too Many Games in Pennsylvania this summer, and he'll definitely be back at Free Play Florida.
Good.
So yeah, he's always there. So yeah, nothing big for Keith just yet.
But I know there's plans.
Yeah, he's always showing up.
So I want to say a big thank you to Nathan Barnatt, who is joining us tonight. I don't know whether to call him a actor, comedian, director, producer, writer.
I don't know either.
So we'll just say all around
a guy.
Small guy. The station is Nathan Barnatt on YouTube. You can find him at Nathan Barnatt on Instagram and on Twitter. You could also find Keith Appicary on Instagram. I believe Twitter too.
Yeah.
And on a personal level, if you see any appearances coming up, definitely go out there and check it out. If you haven't already done so, please check out the channel. There's some really cool stuff up there. Check out the Milford preview that's up there. It's I say preview, but I mean it was more like a
kind of a preview. Yeah, just like a tone. It's that scene does take place in the movie, but not really in that context. But it's sort of the same thing. But yeah, it's just kind of a example of what the movie would sort of look like.
And it's great if you've seen any of Nathan's stuff before, and chances are you have, because it's funny. Anytime that I share any of the stuff that you're in, you're like, people go, "Oh, I remember that guy from seeing."
Yeah.
But if you've seen any of Nathan's stuff before, the little bit I've seen of the Milford stuff, it is completely different, to the point where when I saw the concept piece, I did not know for sure if that was you.
That's great.
But I can't quite tell, because it doesn't look exactly like him.
And
it's a completely different tone. Even the body language completely changes.
Yeah. I tried to change as much as I could. When I do Jace, I don't feel like me. I feel different, and it helps me to stay in the character because he's nothing like me at all. I'm loud and annoying, and he's like very quiet and like reserved and self-conscious. So,
well, yeah, a huge thanks for you coming on today. I want to remind everybody at home, LimeLightDIY.com. Jump on there if you get a chance to sign up for the newsletter. I'm going to ask one more favor from you. If you have enjoyed this podcast, ladies and gentlemen, and you found it on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeart, wherever you find it, if you can, please jump on there, hit the little subscribe button, but leave me a quick review, a thumbs up, a thumbs down, whatever honest feedback you have. Hopefully it's a thumbs up, but it does two things. It tells me what I need to do to what I need to keep, what I need to get rid of, and it also lets the algorithms know that you're paying attention, which helps me, because then the show grows and I can continue to bring guests like Nathan to you every single week here on LimeLight DIY. A big thank you once more, Nathan Barnatt, and we are looking forward to seeing Milford and the relaunch of several of our favorite characters this year.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. This was awesome. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next time on LimeLight DIY.